Hi, my name is Daniel. I'm a health coach for people who are having a chronic disease. And I do that because I used to have a chronic disease myself as well. I used to have ME/CFS or chronic fatigue syndrome. And in my own healing journey, I made many mistakes. And in this video, I'd like to talk about 3 mistakes that I made in the hope that you won't make them that you don't make them. The first mistake is stressful online behavior like gaming, scrolling, being on the internet, doom scrolling, etc. And I started doing that when I had to quit my job. And I thought that after quitting my job, I would have all the time to recover. But I was still very addicted to stress hormones. And therefore, all the things that I did in the beginning were still very stressful. And gaming, it was sort of a distraction because I couldn't deal with the boredom. But also scrolling on the internet or watching stressful content, it was just so stressful. It was way worse than having a job. So because of that, I got so nervous, so stressed, so wired that it didn't last long before I could hardly go out of bed again. So instead of helping my recovery by being at home all day and doing good things, I screwed it up and I was worse than when I was actually working. The second mistake that I made was looking for advice and following advice from people in Facebook groups. Yes, that was a big mistake because everyone in those Facebook groups were stuck themselves. And they were recommending protocols and treatments that obviously did not work for them as well. Or maybe they had a placebo effect. Maybe in the short run, they felt a little bit better because they calmed down their stress response because they were not actively looking for something new again. There was a tiny bit of improvement and they started sharing that. And everybody started following all that advice, like everyone. But I only felt worse and worse and worse because of it. So there was a moment where I realized what I was doing. I've been, scrolling in these Facebook groups for a very long time, following up on the advices that I got, and I felt so extremely bad. So there was a moment there where I just left all these Facebook groups. I saw them as toxic, and that's when I started improving. And I think that's because I was not listening anymore to other people, but more to my own body and to myself. I was learning about the stress response in my body, etc. If you like this type of content, then please give it a like and subscribe. And then the third mistake that I made, well, I made more, but there are only 3 in this video, is wanting to go back to my old life. And that was a very strong desire of me. I wanted to go back to do the things that I used to do. But that old life was already a life where I was addicted to stress hormones, where I was pushing myself, where I was living from to-do lists, where I did things that did not really, that weren't good for me. I went over my boundaries. I didn't really know that I had boundaries. I started to involve myself in all kinds of situations that were not good for me. And even my old job was stressful because that was basically my giant coping mechanism. And as long as I was doing a coping mechanism, my stress response would have been very high and I would still be very addicted to adrenaline and cortisol and all those other stress hormones. So a very crucial point was the moment where I decided that that life was no longer going to be it for me. I had to find my way into a new life. And that was not a life that was going to happen from one day to the next, but a life that I slowly evolved myself into with ups and downs. And when I did things that were good for me, I had an improvement, I felt better. So I was easing myself into my new life. And that was very important in my healing journey. So most stressful things that I did were really not good for calming down the nervous system. But is calming down the nervous system enough to heal? In this video, I talk about that question, whether it is enough to heal. Thank you for watching, and I wish you a beautiful day.